Hi everyone, good evening. Am I audible and visible? Can someone just give me a thumbs up? Okay, great. Thank you so much, Soumya. Good evening, one and all. I hope all of you are doing great, and I hope you had a good and relaxing day today, though it is a working day for many of you. Okay, and welcome to this session on decoding thyroid, and it's going to be something very interesting because I think almost after a year I'm taking up this topic of thyroid. So without any further delay, let me get started. But before I get started, can we have everyone kindly rename yourself as your name dash invited by dash the location from where you have logged in? That would really help me. I see a couple of abrupt numbers there. So please, rename yourself. If you do not know how to rename yourself, just raise your hand and someone in the back end will help you. Okay. So let me just start sharing my slides for the day and let's get going. Okay. So welcome one and all, and okay. I hope my slides are visible and let's get going. Okay, so welcome everyone, and let's get started with the new series. I'm going to have 2 or 3 sessions on this series called as Decoding Thyroid. One of the reasons why I chose this topic is because almost in every household, on an average, we find at least one person managing thyroid or struggling with thyroid. Okay, so that's the reason I picked up this topic. 1 in 8 women are prone for thyroid. So that's the statistics. Okay. So as we all understand, thyroid is a hormonal imbalance. And let's see, what are hormones, how do they function, and how does thyroid happen? Okay. So I just want to give you some holistic idea in terms of how thyroid functions and how hormones function in the background. Okay, so hormones are basically chemical messengers which are released by endocrine system, and that is why in case of thyroid or diabetes or PCOD, we rush to a endocrinologist, because endocrine is a system which is made up of multiple glands. Okay, and they coordinate different things with our organs, and hormones are produced by different glands which are called as endocrine glands. Okay, all the hormones that we have in our body, including our insulin, which is diabetes related, all the hormones are either fat-based or protein-based compounds. Okay, and they help us control many activities in the body. They're secreted by different glands, which combine together are called as endocrine system. And healthy living plays a very, very important role in having a healthy endocrine system. So that is something which is about hormones, but they function in a very unique way. As you can see in this image, you see there is a red tube there. Imagine that is your blood vein, that is your that is where the blood is getting floating, and you will also find those blue dots, which are nothing but the hormones which are freely flowing in the blood. Now, how does the hormone understand where it has to go to, or which which is the target cell? It actually works because every cell in our body has these antennas. You can see target yellow cell which has blue antennas, which is target cell for hormone A, whereas you find a green cell which has red antennas, which is a target cell for hormone B. And you also have a blue color cell which has both red and yellow antennas, which is basically a target cell for both type of hormones. So I don't know how many of you can recollect, but olden days, back in when I was young girl, we used to all go rush to the terrace and try to adjust the antenna for the TV. तो वो एंटेना जैसे हिलाते थे वो टीवी में सिग्नल आता था. So that's how. Or in today's context, many a times when we are talking, we rush to a window, we rush to a because the signal is not there, or maybe there is only one line of the signal instead of 5-6 lines of the signal. So why does that happen? Because the signal is weak. So similarly, when you tune in, then the signal starts coming in and your transmission is happening. So this is what exactly happens here also. As you can see in the last image, every cell has these target antennas, which are called as receptors. Okay. Now these receptors are actually required for the hormone to get recognized. Okay. So that is how hormones function. It's a very, very intricate function. And as you can see, these are the glands, and they produce basic important hormones. There are many more, but these are the most important ones, as you can see, or most prominent ones. There's a pituitary gland which sits here. There is a thyroid gland which sits here. There is parathyroid. There is adrenal, pancreas, testes, ovaries, and each of these glands actually produce hormones which are required for different functions. All these hormones, they work in unison. They work in coordination with each other, and they are very beautifully designed. The unfortunate part is if one hormone does not work appropriately, then all other hormones also get affected sooner or later in some form or the other. That is a challenge with hormones. Okay. So as you can see, pituitary gland is responsible for growth hormones. It regulates growth. It controls functions of most of the endocrine system, because this is responsible for this to function properly. Thyroid, which sits here in the neck, and it controls metabolism. It also brings balanced growth. Pancreas, they produce insulin. Testes produce male hormone. Ovaries produce female hormones. All these things we need on our day-to-day functioning for our body to perform well. The good thing about all these hormones are they are either fat-based or protein-based. As you can see, steroid hormones or protein hormones. Steroid hormones are derived from cholesterol, and protein hormones are derived from amino acids. And there are different examples. So this is something for you to understand, that all the hormones are either fat-based or protein-based. Okay, and this point you all should remember, because I'm going to connect it with the weight loss, saga later on. Okay, and how do hormones work? This is something which is very interesting. Hormones are synthesized, produced, they are secreted, then they're transported to different parts of the body. They are recognized by the cells because of those antennas, and then they are received accordingly. The cellular response, sometimes whenever, insulin resistance, for example, is a very, very upcoming concept these days. People are talking about insulin resistance. How does insulin resistance basically happen? If you actually understand, there is insulin in the body, but the cells refuse to recognize it. And that is when the cell is giving a response, there is no insulin. And that is when hormones disturbed. Similarly with thyroid, so for every hormone, the cell is the basic unit of our body, which is actually giving a feedback that hormone is not sufficient, hormone is not there, hormone is not good quality. And that is when that negative feedback goes to our brain or hypothalamus, and then body starts producing more of those hormones. And that is where a havoc is created. Okay, so this is a overall idea of how hormones work. So don't worry if you don't understand, because I'll cover it in detail as we move forward. Okay, I don't want it to sound like a bio class. Okay, so what is a hormonal imbalance, and do I have it? Now that's something which is very important. And the next image you can see, typically men and women experience a lot of hormonal imbalances these days. There are many reasons why this happens. We will talk about that too. But common symptoms, if I take example of women: acne, brain fog, cravings, digestive imbalances, dry or very excessively dry or oily skin, feeling tired, headaches, mood swings, very common to woman, and PCOS, sleep disturbances, weight gain. All of these are hormonal imbalances. I was showing this image to someone the other day, and she said, my goodness, I think you have read my mind, because I experience all of this every now and then. So that's what hormones do. Hormones function very, very intricately, very, very closely with all other hormones, and they cause so much of havoc in our body. Just because one hormone does not function well, there are many other that get disturbed too. So that is why it is very important to understand how hormones function. Okay. And most common hormonal disorders, if you see, number one is diabetes, because India is considered as diabetic capital of the world. That's one very common hormonal disorder, which is diabetes. The second most common is PCOS. Around 36% girls in India, they suffer from PCOS and PCOD. And the third most common hormonal imbalance that we observe, is hypothyroidism. Like, as I said, 1 in 8 women will develop thyroid disorder during her lifetime. That's for sure. In fact, the statistics might have changed also by now, because it's so common. Pretty much every household today, you observe at least one person having thyroid or thyroid related concerns. That's how common it has become. Unfortunately, the common thing that we experience, or I'm sure whether it is PCOD, thyroid, or diabetes, I'm sure you must have heard, oh, once you get onto these hormonal pills, then you have to be on those pills for the rest of your life. Because unfortunately, everyone, most of the doctors are trying to just arrange or adjust the levels, so that your medication is adjusted based on the readings that you have, based on the blood reports that you have. But nobody is actually thinking of rejuvenating the organs. Nobody is actually thinking of adding more nutrition, which will help the organ to perform or produce the hormone in the right way. So that is where healthy living, having right nutrients in the diet, everything comes into picture. So I'm going to cover that aspect also. Okay. So though we are not covering diabetes and PCOS, PCOD today, we'll be covering about thyroid. So what is a thyroid? If you actually see, thyroid is a beautiful butterfly shaped gland which sits right here, in our neck, and it does many functions for all of us. Okay, so let's understand how thyroid functions. So if you see, all you need to understand is there are 3 important actors in this movie. Okay, the first actor is obviously the thyroid gland. The second actor is a pituitary gland which sits here, and the third actor is the hypothalamus which sits here. Okay, and this is a boss to this is a boss to this, and this is a boss to the whole body. Okay, so that's how it functions. So if you actually notice in the next image, you will understand that when we don't exercise, when we have high stress, when we are malnutritioned or not having enough nutrients in our diet, when there is a sugar fluctuation or sleep deprivation, all these things cause disturbance in our hypothalamus, in our brain, which actually makes this gland produce more hormones, and it is called as TRH, thyroid releasing hormone. And because of that, this gets a trigger and it stimulates the thyroid gland. That is why it's called as thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH. Most of the times there are 2 types of thyroids, which we will talk about, hypo and hyper. But the hypo is the most common one. And why hypo happens is because this gland is producing more TSH. This pituitary is forcing this one to produce more TSH. This overworks to make sure there are only 2 thyroid hormones, T3 and T4. These 2 hormones internally function or do many jobs in our body. Okay, so whenever there is a cellular response, as you can see, raised blood levels of T4 or T3, then there is a response that there is more T4 and T3, we don't need more, so you can stop it. But there are cases where the body absorbs more nutrients, more T3 and T4. It use of hormone by most body cells, and hence there is a lack of T3 and T4. So whenever that lack of T3 and T4 happens, there is a negative feedback which goes to the brain, and that is when most of the hypothyroid patients, if you see, your T3 and T4 will be in normal range. It's the TSH which is out of the range. Why? Because the gland is inactive. It is not producing enough thyroid hormones. It is trying to balance T3 and T4 by becoming more active. Okay, so that is how T3 and T4 and TSH function. If you actually see, there are two types of thyroid. There are many thyroid disorders, but the most common, like there is thyroid cancer, there is Hashimoto thyroid, there is thyroid related many other disorders also, but the most common ones are hypo and hyperthyroidism, as you can see in the image. Hypothyroidism often referred to as underactive thyroid gland. So this gland is underactive, which is leading to inadequate thyroid hormone secretion. Common challenges, as you see, or symptoms as you see, is abnormal weight gain, tiredness, hair loss, cold intolerance, because body temperature regulation is one of thyroid functions. In irregular menstruation cycle, infertility, constipation, all of these are symbols of hypothyroidism or symptoms. Whereas hyperthyroidism is usually referred as overactive thyroid gland, which leads to more thyroid TSH. So in this case, your TSH is, really high. Your T3, T4 in hypo, TSH is really high. In hyper, the TSH is going below the range. Unexplained weight loss, nervousness, tremoring in hands, anxiety, heart palpitation, all these. Why? Because all these are also functions of thyroid. Thyroid gland, thyroid hormone is responsible for hundreds of functions in our body. One simple question for all of you: we all drink milk or eat curd, or we eat calcium rich foods, right? But wo to hamare pet mein jate hain, we put them in our mouth, but how come our bones get stronger? Have you ever thought about it? Or sometimes we'll have a blocked nose. So we have, let's say, adrak ka chai or kadha or something, and that opens up our nose. We have put it in the mouth, we have put it in our stomach, it has gone in our digestive tract. But how is it that the nose is getting opened up? How is it that the bones are getting stronger? One of the reasons is, for bones to get stronger, there is a hormone called calcitonin, which actually does the job of transporting this calcium from the intestine to the bones. And thyroid function actually controls this calcitonin activity. So that is why many of us feel bone weakness, or we are prone for fractures and things like that when it comes to thyroid. Okay, so I understand that thyroid does hundreds of functions for us, including heartbeat regulation, including body temperature regulation, including the calcium transportation, metabolism, and a lot of synthesis of vitamins, and all this happens with the help of T3 and T4 hormones. And when they are not functioning, or when they are not in the range properly, that's when we face different problems. So out of the 100 functions that thyroid does, any patient can have top 2 or 3 different for them versus different for other people. So some people might feel tiredness as their symptom, some people can have hair fall as their symptom, some people can have weak bones as their symptom. So it differs from person to person. Okay, there are 4 types of hypothyroidism, or 4 categories, I should say. One is called as primary, secondary, ternary, and quaternary. So what does primary mean? Primary means where the thyroid gland has a problem, it is not functioning properly. That's when it's called as primary hypothyroidism. Secondary means when the pituitary is not working fine. So sometimes people with blood cancer or brain related issues, when they have to go through some radiation therapy and all that, in the process the pituitary also gets affected or gets overactive. That's when it's called as secondary hypothyroidism. The third one is called as ternary, where the hypothalamus has, as I said again, so if the hypothalamus gets affected, or sometimes when we are under extremely high stress or emotional trauma, that can also cause a lot of hypothalamus damages, which result into ternary hypothyroidism. And then there is quaternary, which is basically when the tissues, the cellular response to T3 and T4 is not happening properly. Sometimes it could be autoimmune disease also. So these are 4 types of hypothyroidism, but we should not worry about those details. This is only for people to just understand, different things. What you should worry about is, do I have the symptoms, and what are the symptoms? As we discussed, puffy face, when you wake up, you have puffy face, or enlarged thyroid gland. Sometimes you'll find some people with a enlarged gland here, or sometimes heartbeat is very slow or very fast, knee pain, arthritis, or rheumatoid arthritis, or sometimes cold intolerance, depression, dry skin, brittle nails, fatigue, forgetfulness, menstruation disorders, infertility related issues, muscle cramps or muscle pain, weight gain, constipation, and brittle nails. These are some of the symptoms, not all, but some of them. Loss of eyebrow hair, dry hair, these are also some more symptoms of thyroid. So you should be mindful about these symptoms and see which one of it is affecting you the most. Okay, as you know, there are different thyroid levels. So this chart is self-explanatory. I don't have to explain more. Okay, now let's get into how do we really work on reversing our thyroid. So when it comes to reversing thyroid, the first thing I always tell all my clients is, I'm not going to change your medication. Why? Because I'm not a doctor, right? So we have to continue with the medication, whatever the doctor has given, but make some food changes, make some lifestyle changes, include exercise, sleep better, manage stress. There's so many things that I work with people to make sure that slowly but gradually their thyroid levels are coming in range. Looking at the value, the doctor may reduce their dosage. Okay, and that is how I have been able to help quite a few people even get rid of their medication also over a period of time. None of this happens in one day, so please don't expect quick fix results here. Okay, so there are many foods which are which are considered as opponents for thyroid function, or they hinder the performance of thyroid functions. What are these foods? Number one, soya, because soya, most of the times what we find is GMO, which is genetically modified soya, and that's very, very bad, especially when it, otherwise also it's bad, but especially when it comes to thyroid, it is not recommended because it adversely affects your thyroid hormone production, and most soya is genetically modified. The second is certain grains. It's considered, especially gluten is considered as one of the enemies of, because a strong link between gluten and many of the thyroid patients have celiac disease or digestion related issues or autoimmune thyroid diseases. In such cases, certain grains which have gluten, so basically wheat and family of wheat or variants of wheat are restricted at least for some time if you are experiencing any digestion related issues with thyroid. Another thing that is very commonly considered is raw cruciferous vegetables. Now the key here is cruciferous vegetables. Okay, why do I say that? Because cruciferous vegetables means broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, kale, spinach. Some of these vegetables are considered as cruciferous vegetables. Most of them are goitrogenous because they cause the goiter, and that is why they are not recommended. But the key here is raw is not recommended. Properly cooked vegetable is something which surely you can eat. The raw is what you should avoid, or even half cooked, like many a times for salads and all, we half cook broccoli or cauliflower. That should be avoided. Properly cooked broccoli or cabbage or cauliflower is absolutely okay. Cruciferous vegetables are okay to have only if they're cooked. Okay, excess caffeine, now we all understand it, because it alters the production of thyroid stimulating hormones, and it is very, very detrimental for your thyroid and adrenal glands. So excess intake of caffeine is something which needs to be totally avoided. 1 or 2 cups of tea or coffee in moderation is absolutely okay, but not more. Sugar, again, it causes more inflammation in the body. In fact, right now in my community, we are running a zero sugar challenge, or no added sugar challenge. It impairs thyroid function. It causes leaky gut, inflammation, insulin spikes, and hence it is not recommended. Especially the highly processed foods are not at all recommended, because they are sugar bombs and they really give you a spike. And the more the sugar in your diet, the more the inflammation it will cause in your intestine and in your body as you move forward. So sugar is something which I'm not saying don't have it, but have it in moderation. Excess sugar and highly processed foods are a strict no. Okay, fruits, some fruits like strawberry, pears, peaches, they are supposed to be causing some kind of interference. So you should not have them immediately after you have taken your thyroid medication. And if you can avoid them for some time, till the time you're reversing your thyroid, it is always a good idea. So these are some different 7 foods which are making your thyroid Okay, the seventh one, vegetable oils, because many of them are, they're not cold pressed. They block certain hormone releases and transports in the body, and they also block cells from using thyroid hormones properly. So you should use, cold pressed seed oils. They are the best because most of them are non-GM. So non-GMO oil, sources is something which is very important for, and that is why many a times we also don't recommend Chinese food to be restricted. So any Chinese food lovers, please excuse me. Okay. But foods that help in hypothyroidism, as you can see, sea vegetables or seafoods, they help. Cooked cruciferous vegetables are absolutely welcome. Certain good spices, because they are very high on polyphenols, which are very good for thyroid function, so they are recommended. Lemons and citrus fruits, now, fermented foods, because they are good source of vitamin B also. Olive oil and olive, because they are non-GMO again. Avocado, good source of fat. Fish, again, good protein source. As we discussed, we should have good protein and good fats in our diet, because that is what most of the hormones need. And coconut also has many health benefits. This is a small simple recipe which I have curated, thyroid boosting juice, which basically has your ABC, which is apple, beetroot and carrot, but it also has a little bit of pineapple. If you have pineapple, add it or squeeze a lemon, and a couple of stalks of celery. Celery is very good for T3 T4 production actually. Okay, so you might want to give this juice a try, because it really helps. It makes you feel refreshed also, and it is a thyroid boosting juice. Okay, so some of these things would really help you. Additionally, there are many essential nutrients for hypothyroidism. We will cover them in detail next time. Vitamin C, D, E, iodine, L-tyrosine. So I will cover all of them in detail next session. So don't worry about it. I just want you to understand the logic behind it. So magnesium, omega, selenium, zinc, vitamin A, B2, B6, B12. So a whole lot of vitamins and minerals are very, very, very essential, crucial for production of, different thyroid hormones. Okay. So I think that's all I wanted to talk about. In the next session, I will surely talk about how each of these nutrients actually play an important role in rejuvenating the thyroid hormone, how each of these nutrients are actually helping you have better thyroid function, better T3, T4 production, and and how we can rejuvenate. I will also talk about certain yoga poses which will work in your favor of improvising your thyroid function. So these are some of the things which I will talk about in the next session, where we will talk about nutrients, we will talk about micronutrients, we'll talk about exercises and stress and sleep strategies, which can really help you decode your thyroid and help you work in your favor. So I think that's all I wanted to talk about. It's 7:29 dot already. So if any of you have any questions, any concerns, or anything that you would like me to answer, I have a quick short form which I have created for all of you. I think we'll share it in the chat box. Yeah. Hold on, I think I missed it. Okay, so I would like all of you to quickly fill up this form. If you click on the form, you'll get a simple small Google form. It hardly has 3 or 4 simple small questions, mostly all check boxes and radio buttons. So if you could fill it up, that would really help me understand what is it that you're looking for. Okay, and yeah, and once you're done filling the form, just type it here, done. So I will know that majority of you have filled it up. I use olive or rice bran oil. Is that fine? Okay, Kajal. So, olive oil is good, but again, olive oil has its own challenges. It is to be used mostly in raw form, not in a heated form. So, stick to any basic, oil like mustard oil, groundnut oil. These are all good oils. Regular oil, whatever you want to use, you can use it. It's absolutely okay. Rice bran oil, I'm not very sure, because mostly the rice bran oil that we get from the market is not as pure as it should be, because rice bran like huge quantity of rice bran will give you some amount of oil. So, with 180, 200, 250 rupee rate of rice bran, I don't think we are getting enough of quality rice bran. Plus, it is refined. We should go for filtered oils instead of refined oils. So that's one recommendation. Go with coconut, mustard oil, groundnut oil, whatever you have used in your childhood days. That's something, or whatever gets produced in your local area. That's good enough. Okay, I haven't got done. Okay, one done, two done. Okay, that's nice. Okay, there was a question. Please suggest which oil. Okay, Daksh, basically, there is no standard answer for it. As I said, use the oil which you have used, which your mom has used while you were growing up, or use the oil which is basically produced in your area. Like, I'm brought up in Maharashtra, but now I'm living in Bangalore. So, whichever oil they use here. So it can be coconut oil, it can be groundnut oil, it can be sesame oil, depending on which location you live in. So usually I prefer cold pressed and filtered oils. Okay, any oil is fine. In fact, any oil, whatever oil you use, you should use very little quantity. That's also important. Okay, quite a few of you have said yes, done. Okay, that's nice. I think we have 30 forms so far, but we are 50 people. So, I think many more are yet to finish. Okay, so anyone has any questions in the meantime, you can ask, because I don't prefer to, extend my session beyond 7:35, 7:40. So if you have any questions, please type it in. Okay. Yes, mustard oil is also okay. Any oil that you want to use, you can use it, Daksh, but very little quantity is the key. That's where I also conduct my healthy cooking sessions, where I practically show people how you can use lesser oil and make tasty foods. Because mostly हमारा mental block क्या होता है, ओ बिना oil का या कम oil का बनाएंगे तो tasty नहीं होगा, है ना, या टेस्टी बनाना है तो थोड़ा सा ऑयल ज्यादा डालना पड़ेगा. But both is not true. We don't need to pour more oil or to have tasty food. I practically teach people with my cookware how you can cook healthier and tastier meals with less oil, moderate oil, zero oil, however you like. Okay, so that's great. Any other questions? If no questions, then we can end the session. How do we control hair fall while under thyroid medication? Okay, I was expecting someone will ask me this question for sure. Chandrakant, we have to understand, see, we are on thyroid medication because the thyroid functions are not happening properly right now. Correct. Now, what I work on, what I help people do is help people to rejuvenate the thyroid gland, to rejuvenate and help the body. See, because were you born with thyroid? No, it came as a lifestyle disorder over a period of time, isn't it? So we have to reverse it by doing a lot of healthy eating changes. So when these changes happen, the hair fall will also come under control. Many reasons, hair fall can be caused because of many reasons. There are many external factors, like if you roam on a bike too much, or sunlight, or dust, or dandruff, or using some harsh treatments or chemicals. These are some external factors. There are many internal factors also, like your protein deficiency, your vitamin D deficiency, hemoglobin, blood circulation. There are many other reasons, B vitamins. So we have to work on all of these. Typically in thyroid, many of the synthesis is not happening, and hence it results into hair fall. Okay, or feeling weakness or tiredness or lethargy and all that. So we have to work improving your thyroid function so that the hair fall also comes under control. Many a times increased nutrient intake always helps you in thyroid. Okay, I hope I answered that question. I had hyperthyroid once and was 45 kg. Now I'm hypothyroid with 75 kg. Okay, how did this happen? Now, as I said, there could be many reasons. We need to understand. I hope you have filled up your form, so you can reach out to me or Maheshwari and we will guide you. There are many reasons. As I said, whenever there is high stress, sleep deprivation, or any kind of radiation therapy, or there are autoimmune diseases, there could be 100 reasons why things go wrong in our body. We have to really understand it in a holistic manner, and then only I mean, there's no quick fix. Oh, ye hai to ye kar lo, wo hai to wo kar lo. Aise nahi hota. That's not how body functions. So I'll have to understand your details a little bit more, and then I can surely guide you. Okay. Good. One last question, if anyone has, else we'll end the session then. Okay, so I think that's all for today. I really loved talking to all of you. There's a small video coming after my talk, which you might want to look into and see how different people have reduced their weight, though they were having thyroid or though they were on thyroid medication. So you will see this video right after my talk, and you might want to see it also. Okay. I think that's all for now. So I'll catch up with all of you next week. And till then, stay tuned, stay happy, stay healthy, eat healthy, and we'll connect again next week. And I'll explain you how you can really decode your thyroid, in generic terms. If there's any specific condition, we have to discuss more in detail. Okay. So thank you so much, and I'll see you again next week.